Welcome to another episode of AI Product Leader. Every week, we shine a light on what it takes to really join the AI world. Real conversations with real AI builders, founders, product leaders, AI experts, technologists, and everything in between to understand where the AI world is right now and what that path looks like, whether you're building AI products or building a career in AI. Have a question or a topic? Email us at support@AI Career Boost to join the conversation. I'm your host, Polly Allen. I'm the founder of AI Career Boost, where I help product managers and leaders navigate the world of AI and thrive in leadership roles in artificial intelligence. And I spent my career on both the software development and product management sides of the development world. I'm also an ex-Alexa AI principal product manager, where I successfully launched the very first generative AI answers on Alexa. I'm a top 100 Woman of the Future award winner, and I'm super excited to welcome our guest today. We're thrilled to welcome Nico Posner. So Nico Posner's career has spanned some of the world's most innovative companies, including LinkedIn, eBay, Clover, and Xero. Nico's career is a masterclass in innovation with massive impact across industries, from startup growth to some of the world's largest companies. Nico's been working with AI since 2018 with incredible results. For example, as former VP of product at Xero, Nico led initiatives integrating cutting-edge AI and predictive analytics into products used by over 100,000 small businesses worldwide, doubling the company's revenue on multiple product lines. From AI ovens to molecular beverage printers, Nico's been at the forefront of industry transformation his whole career and integrating AI along the way. He's also an alumni of our AI Product Leader Blueprint program, and he's currently looking for his next opportunity. So if his profile piques your interest, find him and contact him on LinkedIn. Welcome, Nico. Thanks so much for joining us today. I've been really excited to have you.
Thanks, Polly. It's great to be here.
It's fantastic. Well, I'd love to dive in a little bit more. You have such a storied career across so many industries. I'd love to dive in just a little bit more about your background and your experience, starting way back. One of your first roles was actually at BMW, integrating some of their first systems for provider tracking and analytics. Can you start there and kind of walk us through some of the experiences you've had in your career?
Sure. So BMW was where I first encountered product management as I was working in their research and development department in Munich, Germany. I helped roll out a information management system for all their suppliers globally to help their prototype parts fit together when they were in the manufacturing process. So it's very
Speaking of
interesting.
innovation,
Yes,
prototyping parts.
those are the cars that they smashed into the walls later. It was amazing to see that kind of stuff. So
So cool. Very awesome. And then after that, you were at eBay, some of the earlier years there where you actually got to work with some of the original famous names there. Can you tell us any more about that?
sure. So after BMW, I decided, I wanted to do product management. What better place to do that was other than Silicon Valley. So after I finished my graduate school, I came and got the opportunity to lead some various teams at eBay. And I spent almost 8 years there across almost every area of their business. So buying, selling, international, search intelligence, and more. And it was a great time period during their, rocket ship growth in the 2000s. And learned a lot and accomplished quite a bit, tackling a number of really key initiatives there during my tenure.
Incredible. And so that might have been your first exposure to flavors of AI, right? You were working in search and natural language processing at that time. What kind of problems were coming up for eBay at the time in that space?
The problems, one of the key problems at eBay that dealt with NLP was the difference between the way sellers describe their products that they're selling on eBay and the way that buyers search on them. So, for example, if I'm looking for a model car, they would usually I'm selling a Matchbox car, red, of this type. But buyers, when they're searching, they search for Matchbox cars in the plural form. And so the eBay search engine originally had a strict match, and so those two searches would not come up with those items. And so we spent time dealing with pluralization and transliteration and stemming transliteration to broaden out those searches in the background for the buyers to come increase the match between the items and what they were searching for, and ultimately increase conversion rate.
The early days of search. Most people don't realize that that's where tokens come from. In this LLM world today, people are always talking like, why do we talk about tokens instead of words? It's really old school search has a lot of those answers, hey? You'd have been familiar with that. Amazing. And then from eBay, you left to go to LinkedIn. What was your role at LinkedIn in charge of?
So LinkedIn was just emerging from focusing on their U.S. market first approach to going global, and so with my experience focus on international at eBay, and from my education and life experience, I was brought on to lead their international growth efforts, and so I added a number of uh, 14 language to the program, and then focused on some of their customer support operations initiatives there as well over a number of years, and that was again, fantastic growth, worked with fantastic people during their growth period from 2008 to 2013.
Amazing. I'd love to hear too about your decision. You left, this big juggernaut at LinkedIn, or like eBay too, had grown to such a huge size. Your next move was to go be a founding PM for a small company, right? How was that a tough decision?
It wasn't a tough decision because I reconnected and kept in touch with some of my old eBay colleagues and friends who had co-founded Clover, and they were looking for someone like me to help lead their product team and then lead their product efforts. And so I joined there as a founding product leader and uh, worked there, growing Clover's success from zero up until $50 billion in processing and over 1 million devices sold.
A million devices. That's so nuts. I know of Clover, and I know it's not like a thing consumers normally know because it's like a point of sale terminal system, right? But I was like, oh, these are recognizable. These are huge, huge brands in the industry now. But being there from zero must have been quite the experience.
It was a really interesting transformation because cloud-based point of sale systems was a concept that was new, and everyone said that that was impossible and no one really can do that. And there are 20 different reasons why people said it wouldn't work. And so it was a really great testament to the team that we were able to make it work and then find a distribution model through First Data and all their banking partners to really become the success that it is today.
Wow. Yeah. Um, that growth, it's so interesting because I think in each of these, you've been dealing with large scale growth and new technology innovation, sort of both at the same time. I think that's so interesting to see it throughout your path. Your next job after that was where you got deeper into ML models and vision models, right? This it fascinates me that such a thing exists. AI ovens, that's a thing.
It is. Again, one of the founders of Clover had left and started Level AI, which again was aiming to transform an industry that hadn't really seen any innovation in decades, and that was a microwave oven. And so applying new technologies of vision, AI, and thermal cameras, visual cameras to determine really what was the intent of being cooked, where was the food, what was it, and then they'd figured out how to actually direct heat within the cavity. And that combination really enabled using those AI models to determine the which wave pattern to really optimize cooking outcomes and create these incredible cooking outcomes. So it was a really
Did it
amazing.
taste better?
It was amazing. It was my dream job: software, hardware, AI, and I could go to work and eat all day. It was great.
I didn't mention Nico also runs marathons, so he can eat all day and get away with it. One of the few that can do this. No, that sounds super, super fascinating, and now I really want one. So you've transitioned since then through several companies where you've had amazing impacts, where you're revamping entire ecosystems of digital systems online or delivering huge financial impact. Most recently, it's been at Zero as the VP of product management. Um, and I know you were working a little bit with, not a little bit, quite a bit with AI and ML in those cases, right? And more on the fintech side. I'd love to hear what your biggest learnings have been. Like, what do you think some of the surprises were? What wading into that before ChatGPT, the BC AI BC world at Zero?
Yeah, one of the teams that I manage at Zero is called the Insights team, and they're responsible for the analytics and business performance dashboards. They also had recently launched a product called Analytics Plus, which included cash flow forecasting. So for small businesses, the number one concern is making sales. The second biggest concern is not running out of money. So cash flow forecasting is a critical piece of helping small businesses thrive and survive. So this product was really interesting and very valuable to our users. And one of the key insights that the team had uncovered that was really important to making the value of that cash flow forecasting um, especially valuable was that they made it editable so that users could remove predictions that were incorrect. They could also edit and add transactions that were missing out of the prediction to increase the accuracy and the quality of that prediction to enable them to make better decisions going forward.
Going forward. It's almost like human in the loop system with the users or the experts, right?
Yes. And so the cash flow prediction engine created a baseline of transactions where this was the prediction, but it allowed the user to go in and manipulate it and tweak it to improve the quality and really improve the ability to make predictions not only based on historical transactions, but if you had an upcoming large purchase, you could put that in the model and then see what your cash flow looked like. So it solved a number of key use cases.
Yeah. Oh, that's so interesting. Um, and I think especially a lot of companies overlook, like they're trying to make the AI be perfect out of the gate, instead of actually using it as something that you can. How do we get our own users in there correcting as we go and building up? That's a really strategic asset to have. That like you have a bunch of improved predictions.
Yeah, and it was interesting. We continued to try and improve the algorithm over time. One of the interesting experiences I had there was we had asked the data science team to improve the precision of the forecasting model. Now, this is with the high level. We always want to be better. We would like the recommendations algorithms to be better. So we'd asked the data science team to please improve the precision, make sure that there are more of the predictions that are shown, the higher percentage of those predictions are accurate. And so the data science team went and did a lot of work, a lot of investigation, a lot of modeling using historical data to come up with a new algorithm and to be able to launch something with high confidence that would actually improve precision. So that happened. The rollout seemed quite smooth, but unfortunately, after launch, we saw an increase in customer complaints. That was a surprise to us. We were not expecting that, and so we dove into the data. We looked at the data, in partnership with the data science team, and we found that in fact the precision had increased. So the data science team had done their job well. They did everything that was requested of them. So we talked to the users. We tried to figure out really why were they upset, what was going on that was increasing their complaints. And it turns out that the increased precision resulted in an increase in type 2 errors, so false negatives. So in this case, for a specific transaction type with a very relatively large average dollar amount, there were missing transactions that therefore reduced the quality of the overall cash flow forecast because they were absent when previously they had been there. So when we looked into this more deeply, the key insight that we had been missing in our thinking or our research work was there was a user cost in terms of time and effort to fix a type 2 error versus a type 1 error. And there's a difference in that. So in terms of a type 2 error, it only took 3 clicks. Excuse me, a type 1 error, it only took 3 clicks to remove a false positive, but it took many more clicks to add in a missing prediction that wasn't there.
They'd way rather choose between a bunch of like, some noisy predictions and take out the noise than to actually have to go in and enter things by hand.
Exactly. So they could go look through the list and recognize very quickly, oh, this is in the prediction, but it shouldn't be click. They could remove it very quickly. But if one was absent, they had to spend a lot more time researching what was the cadence of those transactions, what was the average amount of the transactions, and to add it in took many more clicks and steps, and therefore that was much more painful. And so the key insight was that the customers really would prefer lower precision for that type of transaction because it was easier to remove. And so it was more helpful to them to have a broader set of predictions, including more errors than the vice versa. So
Totally. And I wonder too if it almost helps them feel a little more like they're using AI. I've seen sometimes like AI is too good and they stop appreciating it when it's like, oh, it's making some bad, some good ones. These are slightly annoying to remove, but at least I know it's doing something. as opposed to like it's silently working in the background.
It definitely got them to use the edit function more, which was great, and therefore they got saw the value of it. And it's really like a version of fine tuning, right? So they could then really fine tune their own predictions and engage and feel empowered to really increase the quality of their own prediction algorithm, and therefore value that prediction more. So we definitely saw increased engagement once we rolled forward with a mix of the previous two algorithms together into a newer algorithm, so that we kept some of the increased precision for many transaction types, but then for that one transaction type that was causing issues, we used the previous model that had the lower precision, and so that we got the best of both worlds.
Yeah. Oh man. Isn't that exactly what the role of product manager needs to be now though, in the role of AI? Because like that first piece was this like we weren't accounting for the user experience when we're making the technical specs and telling the data science team what to optimize for, right?
Yeah, I think that, always listening for customer feedback and being able to dig in not only with the customers but also with the data science team to validate, um, did did we accomplish what we had set out to do, and then questioning did what we try to accomplish, was that the correct thing to try and accomplish in the first place, and ask ourselves, did we ask the wrong questions, did we make the wrong request, or what mix of factors made us be where we are today, and then of course what is the potential next step, do we roll back, do we roll forward. That's where the judgment of product management comes in collaboration with all the partners, engineering, data science, user experience, customer support. You know, what's the right answer to go forward? That's where the traditional product management skills and expertise come in to be that leader of looking at all the data factors and including customer feedback, and then deciding what's the best way to proceed forward.
Driving the right decision. That's so true. Well, it sounds too like there has to be a culture then too of understanding of like we need some experimentation, right? I'd love to hear what you found surprising in trying to build that culture of like experimentation into new companies where like innovation like that isn't always like what they're used to.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a challenge that I think that everyone needs to embrace more and more now, with the advent of more AI tools in your toolkit and companies' toolkits, is increased flexibility and not knowing necessarily what the outcomes will be of any product initiative or feature launch or rollout.
Or
Is
if they're even possible, right? At the beginning, it just might not happen, right?
Exactly, or may not happen at all, and that unpredictability and that uncertainty, that is actually something to embrace. That uncertainty can uncover really magical insights, and as well sometimes just doesn't work out at all. And so it's really important, I think, to discuss that up front and throughout the process of the risks of what our goals are and what the risks are, what might make this not proceed. And I think there's numerous examples. I think even you talked about in some of your previous podcasts around in Amazon on some of the things that didn't happen because of the data that you researched and brought together. I think that's true and going to be true for every leader and company who are trying to use these new tools in the toolkit, which have more variability around potential outcomes, potential benefits, potential drawbacks, and just be ready to respond quickly and listen and look at the data, look at the metrics, make sure you're measuring the right things, but listening, and then also just being reactive and responsive to the results when they come in, and look and really question, did we ask the right questions? What do we do next from here?
Yeah, it's a cultural dynamic that has to shift too. Like I think most leaders are used to, hey, we're building a feature. How long is it going to take? Why isn't it out yet? Did it do that? Did it move the needle we thought it was going to move? We're just always on that kind of treadmill of building those, right? I remember the first time some data scientists were telling us as part of a feature we wanted to release on Alexa, they were like, well, to actually, get the signal of like, um, you know, feedback from users and understand if that's working properly to improve the answers, we're going to actually put out some like not optimal answers. And of course, everyone who's very user-centered culture was like, but what do you mean not optimal answers? And like, are we really going to sit in a room and agree that sometimes we're not doing our best to give them the very optimal answer because we want to give them a distribution of answers so that we can actually optimize the answer over time. we're winning for the user in the long term. That's how like we can pitch this to like justify it, because when you're so set against anything even mildly incorrect going out to the user, it's really, really hard to move forward in a world where there's non-deterministic answers, right?
Yeah, I think it's part of knowing what good looks like is you also know what bad looks like, and also validating, getting data to validate that, and being
And
willing,
how bad?
yes, and being willing to go out there and expose users to some experiences that validate, that bad is bad, to validate what is good, and that you want to then aim more for more good. But to have that perspective is really valuable, and being it's an important cultural shift that we need to do as companies, as product leaders, to make sure we educate everyone, including brand, PR, marketing, customer support, that these things are ongoing or planned, to be able to plan for those and not so that they're part of a thorough rollout process, and that is a known, not and no surprises, right? No surprises. I think a key theme that
The AI might surprise us, but people shouldn't surprise us.
I think that, just to educate everyone, educate ourselves on what these new tools in our toolkit enable us to do as individual product managers, product leaders, but enable what we can do as companies as well, will require um, a new set of behaviors and tolerances for variability and change and adaptability that I think we've not seen before pre AI.
Pre AI, yeah, it's so it's so important that organizations start talking about what are those capabilities they need to build, and how do we get leaders in who know how to build an innovative culture, and one that can accept failures, not dumb failures but smart failures where we fail forward, right? Yeah, absolutely critical. Speaking of education, I'd love to talk a little more about your education path too. So you're obviously leading these really high impact, very technical projects now, but your background isn't necessarily technical, right? Before you did your MBA, I saw that your undergrad was actually in international relations in German. Um, so can you tell us a little bit about that journey, for those who might be considering, hey, I'd love to be in more technical roles. How do I get there, and what does it speak to that you've been able to make that transition?
Yeah, I think that it's a testament that great product managers and great product leaders can come from all backgrounds. The core skills of being a great product manager or product leader are things that do not require specific technical backgrounds, unless you're working on very, very specific technical products like database design. Then yes, you probably do need a technical background. But for many product disciplines, that you can have any background: critical thinking, user empathy, working with data, good decision making. Those types of skills anyone can learn from any background. I think for me personally, I've always had a strong interest in puzzles and problem solving and logic puzzles. And so I gravitated towards opportunities that came to me that were included very technical products. And I think that as a product manager and as a product leader, as long as I had a very strong engineering counterpart and partner, I could figure out ask with our engineering teams what is possible, and they would tell me what's possible. I would merge in from the business and customer perspective, what are the things that we're trying to accomplish, and then together we could really work out some incredible solutions. But I would not be able to tell them how to do their jobs, but we would work together on what is possible, and then I would help guide on what we want to do from a business perspective and a user perspective and a customer perspective, and then they would help implement. So that partnership is really key. But I would say that attitude towards collaborating with your counterparts is important, and then always be learning. Right, I'm always trying to learn and increase my toolkit. I think everyone, like, that's what everyone should be doing, especially with the advent of AI tools coming out, and it's changing every week. It's really important for any product manager up through product leadership to educate yourselves and spend time, invest time in yourself um, to really grow your acumen in AI, in those new tools in the toolkit, so you're not as afraid to pick them up and use them and know what they can do. I think Claire Vaux's talk recently was very insightful on how the role of product is changing. I think the way that product managers and product leaders and even companies who are afraid of this AI revolution. They don't know what to do or how to do it. I think it's important to just get started and learn, get on that train of learning, and you'll figure out along the way, as long as you have the right culture, as we talked about, to be willing to try things that maybe not work. Okay, then great. But what did you learn from that? What are you going to take that forward into your next experiment, either internally as a company, or which customer use cases are the ones where you're going to try next? What did you learn? As long as you have that constant philosophy of what am I learning today? What did I learn from yesterday? What am I going to do differently today and tomorrow as an individual, as a leader, and as a company? Then AI will be an incredible new tool in the toolkit that we can all use to build amazing products and build companies that are thriving off of all those new tools in the toolkit.
That's the promise, and I do feel like it's possible. Like people have been skeptical recently about like, hey, is the value really coming out of AI? And I think they underestimate like not only do companies need to spin up new capabilities, like hey, regression testing something where the answers change, right? But it's also a real like cultural and identity shift, right? Across a company to be able to handle that uncertainty.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think even all disciplines are going to have to think about this differently, whether it's user research, design, product, engineering. Like everyone has these new tools available, and I think they're really incredible opportunities. And I think even just my own journey around, when I was working in, I only had knowledge of the things really that I was working deep on and spending all day on, going deep, deep, deep in my with my teams. And I loved that and I learned that. But I was thinking, even myself, like, what are all the other things that I don't know about and want to learn about? I hear about all these new tools that are coming out. And so it's really important for me, even though I was working in AI, fortunate enough to have a team that was building $1 million revenue products that were used by hundreds of thousands of monthly active users. I was in it, and I still had that same fear of like, what am I missing out in knowledge? What could I be doing better? And so even for me, that's why I took your course, to which I loved, and it really helped me gain a broader understanding of all the areas that I wasn't working in, on what else is out there, and give has given me the confidence to go forward with now greater knowledge of those other tools in the toolkit that are not the ones that I have the opportunity to work on directly. So I think that for anyone who is a product person who has no experience, great. Educate yourself, take a course, start doing learning, and then take any opportunity you can. Voice your interest within your company. If there is an AI team, say, I want to work on that. How can I do that? Right. Part of it is raise your hand. Like tell your manager, tell your CPO, your CEO, tell your engineering leader, I want to work on this. This is an area of interest, and opportunities will come to you if you express your interest. But do your work on your side in your free time to increase your knowledge and toolkit, and those opportunities will come forward.
That's the question I get often is like, well, how do I get the confidence to put up my hand for these things? If you had to boil down like your advice for one sentence of like, how do I get started tomorrow to people who've never had any background in AI? Do you have any tips and tricks?
Get started by spending time learning. There's a lot of content on YouTube. There's probably too much content out there, and I think one of the benefits of taking a course, whether it's your course or Marilee's, Marilee's course, I think those courses can help really distill down to a corpus of learning that is more digestible. It is manageable. It's structured, and you have a filter of someone who both you and Marilee are very deep, have deep expertise, and so you trust that and have filtered down to the key aspects of learnings that I can then take forward in my own career beyond the course. But so I think that there's plenty of content that you can start with on your own. If you can, then there's other courses you can take to get more educated on your own, and then just try and find ways of working your way in and finding opportunities in the companies you're in.
Oh, yeah, I think that's so true. That look around for those opportunities. We're seeing people carve out entirely new career paths simply by demonstrating the art of the possible, right? It's like go home, fiddle around. If it's possible in ChatGPT, you can build a tool to do it, right? And it's never been as accessible as it is before. That's super inspiring, Nico. I think whichever company you end at next will be very lucky to have your expertise, not only in the AI field, but in building that experimental and innovative culture around it. as well as that focus on delivering impact. It has to deliver impact, or why are we doing this, right? If you do want to get a hold of Nico, like I said, LinkedIn is the place to find him. You can DM him directly. We only have time for one more segment, and that is plugs. So I wanted to plug that we do have another one of our free masterclasses coming up in January. And we'll be diving into the year that was and the year ahead in AI for product management and product teams. So be sure to register for that. We'll include that in the show notes. And lastly, as always, we like to shamelessly plug the show. So do not forget to like and subscribe. Go to your favorite podcast pipe, give us 5 stars. If you enjoy hearing conversations with product leaders and the direction that AI is taking. If you want to reach out with questions, support at AI Career Boost is the place to go. We'd love to hear them. And that's been another episode of AI Product Leader. Thanks again, Nico. It's been a wonderful episode. I really appreciate it.
Thanks.
We'll see you all next time.